Okay, so if you're running a business in the UK, one that actually ships things, you probably know this feeling all too well. Your warehouse team, they're spending hours, maybe half the morning, just juggling different carriers,
Yeah.
right? Trying to sort out a missed delivery slot way up in Newcastle, perhaps. And all the while, your transport costs are just creeping up. It's relentless. You've maybe tried brokers, maybe tried keeping it all in-house, but it still feels like the system's leaking time and, frankly, money.
Yeah, that kind of patchwork approach, it's almost the default, isn't it, for so many medium-sized UK companies. And it really does create this sort of invisible ceiling on how efficient you can be. So today we're diving into some source material that focuses specifically on strategic pallet management. We're looking at services like those from SMA worldwide. Our mission really is to figure out exactly how shifting from that reactive, chaotic carrier coordination to a proper strategic partnership can turn these headaches into, well, real operational strengths.
Absolutely. And I think the key shift in thinking right from the get-go is that this isn't just about, outsourcing the transport bit. It's more like acquiring a whole optimized capability. The sources really stress this. A comprehensive pallet service, it covers everything: collection, proper storage, efficient distribution, tracking right to the end. It's about making operational excellence a genuine competitive edge for your business.
Exactly. It's swapping that chaotic variability for predictable performance. That's the core idea. And when you look at the actual impact, the measurable results detailed in the sources, the most immediate win seems to be just raw time savings. And time, well, it's the one resource you absolutely can't make more of in business.
Time is money, sure. But it's also the space for innovation, isn't it? Better customer service. Our sources seem to lay out 4 big ways these professional services give significant hours back to your team. Hours they can then spend on, well, the stuff that actually grows the business, the revenue-generating activities.
Right. The first one, and you could argue it's maybe the most immediately impactful, is the streamlined collection and delivery network. Just think about the old way for a second. Your staff are on the phone, calling multiple hauliers, trying to match up conflicting schedules, haggling over rates, chasing paperwork like proof of delivery later on. A strategic partner just wipes that whole headache away. You deal with one person, one contact point, and you leverage their network, their established, trusted relationships.
And there was a really clear example of this, wasn't there? That Birmingham manufacturing client. They were spending, over 10 hours every single week just coordinating pallet movements across the Midlands? That's crazy. By moving to that single point of contact model, they just redirected all that staff time straight back into production planning, talking to customers. 10 hours. That's like having an extra person for a day and a half each week. That's a huge ROI just from simplifying who you talk to.
It really is. And the second big gain comes from tackling the administrative burden via technology. And we're not just talking about, a basic tracking website here. This is more sophisticated. It's a proper logistics management system. Yes, it gives you real-time tracking, but the crucial part is it also helps manage compliance stuff, automates the delivery notifications, generates customs docs, shipping labels, all that jazz instantly.
Okay, but hold on a minute. Lots of smaller companies already use the standard carrier portals, for tracking.
Yeah.
Is this really that much of a step up, or is it just kind of bringing existing tech together?
That's a fair point. The real difference, I think, lies in the level of integration and automation. A standard portal lets you see where something is. This kind of system manages the whole process. So, for instance, the sources mention a Leicester electronics distributor. They apparently cut out over 15 hours of weekly admin work, just gone. And that's because the system automatically flags problems, it syncs with their internal inventory, makes sure every shipment is compliant before it even leaves. It gets rid of all those manual checks and paperwork mistakes that used to eat up so much time.
Wow, 15 hours. Think about that. Almost 2 full days of admin time, just freed up, redirected completely towards finding new business. Which makes that third point, faster processing through operational excellence, seem even more critical. That's where the technology meets the actual physical movement, right?
That's exactly it. It involves these purpose-built facilities. They use optimized processes, things like cross-docking, maybe automated handling systems in some cases. It's not just about having big warehouses. It's about having a really refined system that's genuinely engineered for speed and efficiency.
And the numbers seem to back that up. The source highlights a Manchester retail business. They really needed to get faster to compete online, and they managed to slash their order processing and dispatch time from, get this, 3 whole days down to less than 24 hours. That kind of leap in speed, that's what lets you confidently offer next-day delivery. That's a direct customer-facing advantage in the market.
And the final time saver they talk about tackles that internal headache of stock management. It's integrated expert inventory management. Essentially, this means the service provider's warehouse management system, their WMS, becomes like an extension of your own system. It gives you real-time visibility, yes, but it also handles practical tasks like stock rotation, quality checks if needed.
Yeah, I thought that Bristol pharmaceutical client example was really interesting here. They now rely on the service provider for all the detailed inventory reports, the
Hmm.
stock rotation, which is
Yeah.
obviously critical in pharma, and that frees up their own highly specialized, probably quite expensive staff, people who should be focused on R&D, regulatory stuff, they can just leave the physical stock handling entirely to the logistics partner.
Yeah.
They basically get reliable operational support without pulling their core talent away from their main job.
So if you tie all those time savings together, you can see how it directly feeds into the financial strategy too. Let's maybe shift focus now onto the cost reduction angle, because the sources are pretty clear here, stating that many clients see total logistics cost cuts of over 20%, often within the first year. That's significant.
20% is definitely significant, especially when logistics budgets always seem to be under pressure. So how are they actually achieving that? And maybe more importantly, are they having to sacrifice speed or reliability to get those savings? Because that's often the trade-off, isn't it? Cut costs, lose service quality.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it seems they address this head on. The main saving seems to come from transportation efficiency via consolidation. Because they have this huge network, they can use clever tech, maybe predictive analytics, dynamic routing to combine shipments from different clients going in similar directions. This means they fill the trucks better, minimize what they call dead mileage, the empty miles that you usually end up paying for indirectly.
Right, so that Nottingham automotive parts supplier who cut costs by 35%, that wasn't just a fluke. It sounds like it came directly from being able to merge their shipments onto vehicles already running with compatible loads. But does that mean the supplier has to be really flexible with their delivery times? Or can they still hit those strict just-in-time schedules even when the freight is consolidated?
Apparently, they can absolutely maintain that JIT compliance. The key insight, it seems, is how the network is structured. They have regional hubs, specific carrier agreements, all designed to guarantee certain service levels even within that consolidated model. It sounds like it's properly engineered capacity, not just, finding spare space opportunistically.
Okay, that makes sense. And beyond just the transport, the savings on the physical assets themselves look quite striking. Reduced infrastructure costs, meaning businesses can use their own space purely for making stuff or selling stuff, right? They don't need that expensive, dedicated warehouse space for logistics, which might sit half empty for parts of the year anyway.
Exactly. Look at that Coventry engineering client mentioned. They actually closed down their own dedicated logistics warehouse, saved over £75,000 a year just on facility costs, just by using the provider's shared, strategically placed distribution centers. That's cash straight back into the business, ready to use.
And the benefit of swapping those big fixed capital costs for predictable operational expenses, that's huge too. We're talking about removing the need for equipment and capital investment. You don't have to buy and maintain those expensive forklifts, the racking, the loading bay gear.
Yeah, there was a tech company in Cambridge apparently growing fast. They calculated that just avoiding the equipment purchases plus the ongoing maintenance contracts saves them over £40,000 annually. And crucially, like you said, it turns that big, lumpy, upfront cost buying new kit into a smooth, predictable monthly expense, one that can scale up or down easily as their business fluctuates.
Plus, you get the advantage of their scale when it comes to buying supplies, right?
Right.
The bulk purchasing power and material optimization.
Precisely. Because they're buying so much, they get really competitive rates on all the necessary packaging materials, shrink wrap, pallet collars, whatever's needed. That Manchester manufacturing client again, they cut their packaging spend by 18%. Partly through the bulk deals, but also sometimes through advice on how to configure pallets better for stability, reducing damage.
And lastly, something that's maybe easy to overlook is the human cost. You get access to experienced logistics people, specialist knowledge, without all the internal HR overheads, recruitment, training, keeping those specialists happy. That's expert labor without employment costs. You get the brain power without the burden. Okay, so we've got the time savings, we've got the cost savings. Now let's look at the range of actual services offered. because this seems to be where the relationship moves beyond just basic transport and becomes a longer-term strategic thing.
Absolutely. They offer quite distinct solutions tailored for different needs. So at the sort of high volume end, you've got full pallet load services or FPL.
Right, FPL,
Right.
that's vital for those really big single destination loads. Like you mentioned, the high precision automotive stuff, just-in-time deliveries. And the source confirms they hit some impressive metrics there, like over 99% on-time delivery for those critical supply chains. That's pretty much the gold standard.
Then, for smaller businesses or those with less regular shipments, there are groupage services. This is really important for SMEs. Groupage is basically the mechanism that lets your, say, 3 pallets fill up the remaining space on a truck that's already running an optimized route for someone else. It spreads the cost fuel, driver time across multiple businesses. It's how smaller firms can access that enterprise level service quality, but at a cost that makes sense for them.
And for those oh moments, which let's face it, every business has sometimes, there are the express services. This is your guaranteed same-day or next-day delivery for really critical stuff. Maybe it's parts to stop a production line grinding to a halt or an emergency restock for a big retailer.
And we definitely shouldn't forget the specialized handling. This needs very specific know-how, certifications, often special equipment too. We're talking things like temperature-controlled transport, absolutely vital for pharmaceuticals or food, or handling hazardous goods safely and legally. Trying to manage that kind of complexity in-house is incredibly difficult and expensive.
So that whole range of services, that portfolio, it really lays the groundwork for the longer-term strategic benefits, doesn't it? Let's talk about how this supports actual sustainable growth. The first one seems obvious: pure scalability.
Scalability is absolutely key. Their operational setup means that when your business suddenly takes off, maybe it's a seasonal rush like Christmas, or just unexpected rapid growth, the infrastructure, the capacity, it's just there to handle it.
Yeah.
You don't have that panic of trying to suddenly hire temporary staff or find extra warehouse space. They absorb the surge for you.
Which must feed directly into enhanced customer service. I mean, faster delivery, clear tracking information, being reliably on time, all of that translates straight into happier customers, better reviews, maybe even referrals. Logistics stops being a potential weak link and actually becomes something that differentiates you in the market.
And that touches on trust and protection. The services usually include comprehensive risk management. So that means proper insurance coverage, liability protection, and really crucial support with regulatory compliance. That's invaluable, especially if you're shipping high-value goods or stuff that's heavily regulated, where one slip-up on compliance could mean huge problems, huge fines.
I'm always curious about where the tech is heading next. The source mentions ongoing investment in technology and innovation, things like using AI for route optimization, constantly finding those tiny efficiencies, IoT sensors perhaps, for real-time monitoring right inside the pallets, temperature, humidity shocks, and predictive analytics to try and foresee potential problems like weather delays or traffic jams. It sounds like continuous improvement is baked into the partnership.
And to operate at that strategic level, you really need deep, specific industry expertise. They specifically mention understanding the nuances of manufacturing JIT, the complexities of modern retail omnichannel fulfillment, where speed and accuracy are everything, and those specialized sectors like cold chain. It's not just generic transport, it's tailored solutions built on years of very specific operational knowledge.
And ultimately, you need proof it works. The success has to be measured, right? They emphasize that performance is tracked meticulously against hard numbers, over 98% on-time delivery overall, and keeping damage rates consistently below 0.1%. So you're not just crossing your fingers hoping things arrive okay. You have reliable data, performance metrics you can build your own customer promises on.
So tying this all together, what does it really mean for you, the listener, trying to navigate this complex UK market?
Well, it seems to me that using professional pallet services can fundamentally shift logistics from being this heavy, expensive constraint on your business to becoming a genuine strategic tool. You gain confidence. You get to focus your own team's energy on what makes your business unique, your product, your service innovation. And you build operations that are scalable, resilient, ready to handle whatever the market throws at you.
Yeah, the core idea we can pull from these sources seems to be this. Businesses that start seeing logistics not just as a cost to be minimized, but as a strategic capability to be leveraged, they're the ones positioning themselves for real sustainable success. In today's economy, customers expect speed, they expect transparency. Operational excellence isn't really a nice to have anymore. It's pretty essential for survival, let alone growth. And maybe that shift in mindset from just coordinating lorries to actually acquiring a high performance logistics capability, maybe that's the biggest takeaway here.